I want to bring in Peter Gleeson now. He's listening to that media conference. I tell you what, the politicking on this vaccine issue is just extraordinary between the states and the federal government. Anastasia Palaszczuk was at pains to point out once again and repeating that the federal government is in charge of 70% of the vaccines and saying, well, it's only up to Queensland to do 30%. I mean, no one cares who it comes from. They just want it in their arms, surely.
Exactly. And I think the politicking during this pandemic has been extraordinary, Laura. And if you look at the way in which, different state premiers and territory leaders, they've all ganged up on Canberra. And I know Canberra have been accused of, botching the vaccination rollout. And of course, there is some validity to that. But I think the fact that you've got on Wednesday the Brisbane Entertainment Centre, the one in the heart of the city, opening up, and they're expecting 3,000 Pfizer jabs a day by the end of the week. I think that gives you an indication of how important it is for this country and, of course, Queensland to get its act together and get the vaccination rates up around that 70 or 80%, because that's the passport, isn't it? That's the passport to opening up the country and to ensuring that we get back on track, both from a health and a fiscal perspective.
Look, it was really interesting, Gleeso, to learn then that Anastasia Palaszczuk is saying she's really concerned about cases from New South Wales getting into the regions, going north to places like Armidale and Tamworth. But we're hearing this morning, and she wouldn't confirm this, that someone from the Gold Coast has a positive case, has travelled from the Gold Coast into Byron Bay, spent 5 days infectious in the community, gone to exposure sites near Ballina, Lismore, and then eventually checked themselves into Lismore Hospital. This would seem like a case from Queensland actually infecting northern New South Wales, not it coming north up from Sydney.
And she did sound a warning at the end of that press conference that she was particularly looking at the Gold Coast and the problems associated with that. And she didn't rule out more punitive, harder measures in relation to lockdowns, in relation to probably northern New South Wales. At the moment, if you live in northern New South Wales, you can get into Queensland with the appropriate protocols and the appropriate concessions. But I get a sense, and I think the quote she used was that, if we're going to go harder, we will. We need to keep a close eye on the Gold Coast and that northern New South Wales border area. So, look, I'm not going to preempt that the Gold Coast is going to be looked at differently because clearly the tourism impacts on the Gold Coast are having a huge effect. These particular health authorities and the Premier and Jeanette Young are not ruling out anything when it comes to this, and they've gone hard and they've gone fast. And it was Paul Keating who said back in 1989 that these are a beautiful set of figures when he was talking about the budget. These are good figures this morning. These are terrific figures, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, it certainly seems so. And it seems that northern New South Wales needs more protection from the Gold Coast than the Gold Coast needs protection from northern New South Wales. If this case has the origins that's been suggested, but we'll probably need to wait till we hear from Gladys Berejiklian at 11 a.m. before we get more information about that. Before I let you go, Gleeso, Campbell Newman. He is the gift that keeps on giving. He's certainly back into politics in a huge way. He never really left. What do you think of his chances?
Well, I think he faces an uphill task. It's very difficult to win a Senate spot unless you're one of the major political parties. I mean, that's accepted. But he is going into this election saying what a lot of people are saying, and that is by mid-December, you need to be doubly vaccinated, and we will then erase the mask mandates, we will erase the lockdowns, and the country will get on with, getting back to some semblance of normality. That's his platform, and there are a lot of people, particularly in that sort of mature voter age group, who would look upon that comment and say, I'm with Campbell Newman on this. He was a very high-profile Premier. He was a very good Brisbane Lord Mayor. He comes to the table with a pretty good CV. Of course, he's very well known to Sky viewers, but it is an uphill task. I'll be very interested to see how he goes. I wouldn't rule him out, but at the moment, you'd have to say it's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I think so. Peter Gleeson, thanks so much.